This is the greatest travel podcast in the universe, most likely. I'm your host, Fraser Laveay, and today we're talking the best 15 hikes in Arizona. If you aren't aware, Arizona is arguably the best place to hike in all of the United States and even Canada for a multitude of reasons. One, you can hike year round. There's no snow really to be worried about. It does get hot in the lower places, but you just go up north, go to Flagstaff, go to the Grand Canyon. Still hot, but manageable. Go to Page. So, year round hiking, beautiful weather for 9 months out of the year. It's just got everything. Waterfalls that you wouldn't think were in this country, let alone in Arizona. Caves, grottos, underwater caves, a million different things in Arizona that I love. Like I said, arguably the greatest place to hike. And let's get into it. Everyone probably knows number one, so I'm not even going to start there. I'm going to start from the 15th down to make you listen the whole way through. Maybe a few honorable mentions. So one that probably should be on this. I've hiked pretty much every single best hike in Arizona, but one, Pikachu Park. I don't know if it's Pikachu. Anyways, Pikachu Peak. I'm saying that incorrectly, but hard one, really cool between Tucson and Phoenix. I've heard pretty good things, but I still don't think it rivals these other ones. A couple other honorable mentions. We'll go with Antelope Canyon. Not really a hike; it's more of a guided walk. And actually, before we even get into that, Arizona, on top of that, a bunch of screensavers you have on your computer or TV are from Arizona, with Antelope Canyon being one. Next on this list is Horseshoe Bend, also both in Page, Arizona. Horseshoe Bend, not much of a hike either. It's just a walk for a mile on a paved pathway. But, depending what your version of a hike is, that could be a hike. Both are incredible. Page, Arizona, you must visit there. There's those two things. Antelope Canyon, you have to have a guide and buy that way in advance. And gorgeous. Then you can just park at Horseshoe Bend, which is like 20 minutes away from where you do your guide starting, even less, maybe 10. In Page, Arizona, you just pay to park there. I think it was like $15 to park, maybe 10. Real easy. Anyone can do it. And it's accessible for wheelchair and everything else because, like I said, it's a paved and it's not much grade to it. So those are a couple honorable mentions. Another one in Sedona is Devil's Bridge. A lot of people have probably heard of that. And that's just, it's so well known. I left it on the honorable mention. I also don't love the hike that much. Most people will just walk down the Jeep or ATV pathway, which is just flat and boring for an hour. And then you actually get into the hike, which that part is a little bit better. And you do that for 30 minutes, not much elevation. And then you wait for 2 hours to get a picture taken on Devil's Bridge. So go during a weekday. You can kind of go off the path. There's like some other trails, so you don't have to walk on that boring Jeep path. But overall, it's a little boring. The picture is unique, beautiful, of course. So that's an honorable mention, but only because it's just not the greatest hike, and it can take 30 minutes to 2 hours to get your picture because it's very well discovered. Maybe go in the summer. But let's start with number 15. Also, Sedona people hate me because I tell people where to hike, and that's its own podcast episode that you can listen to. People curse me out for telling people to go to unique, amazing places. 15 is the Subway Cave in Sedona off Boynton Canyon Trail. Go to my website, inspiretraveleat.com, to find the directions, as it is a little tricky to find. Very cool. It's a great length of a hike. I think it's like 5 miles, 6 miles. I can't think about the top of my head. It's moderate to difficult. Once you get to the cave, then it can get a little bit tougher. You go a little up and some scrambling, but it's not too bad. Everyone can do it. There's also some ruins next to it to the left. When you're looking at the cave and just look to the left, you'll be able to see the ruins. Again, it's getting busier and busier, which everyone says is my fault. But you know what? People are dying left and right. If the last thing they got to do was see the subway cave and get outside and be active, and this was like an excuse or a reason they wanted to get active, then fuck it. I don't care at all. Just please pick up after yourself. Don't wreck the ruins. Don't go inside the ruins. And be a responsible hiker. Don't leave garbage, all that kind of stuff. No graffiti or writing on walls. You guys are assholes that do that. Just as equally are the ones who gatekeep Sedona. Anyways, enough about those people. Number 14. It's a widely known one. It's an easy one. I won't spend much time on it. Camelback Mountain. There is a secret cave. So again, go to inspiretravelweek.com and see. I've just got one on Camelback Mountain that you can see on how to find that cave, which is a really cool picture. And it's hard to see unless you know where it is. So that is just a staple, a Phoenix, Scottsdale staple, right in the heart of Scottsdale. Gorgeous, gorgeous views of the entire city. And afterwards, go get some brunch at Lolo's Chicken and Waffles or Montauk or Sumo Maya. Probably forgetting another place I like, but yeah, great hike. It is very hard, so don't take it easy. Bring lots of water, correct running shoes, sneakers, whatever you call them, and don't go in the summer if you're not from here, because people have died. Before they put all these warnings, like a few years ago, people were dying a couple a year. So take it seriously. There's two sides, the Cholla Trail and the Echo Canyon. They both have the same elevation because they both get to the same point. Echo Canyon is the harder one because it's more steep, where Cholla Trail is longer but has a more gradual grade. I like both equally. I almost like Cholla Trail better because you can kind of see the city behind you more. So like if I bring people, one, it's a little bit easier. Two, it's kind of got more views, where Echo Canyon, you're in the canyon for most of it. With that said, Echo Canyon is where the cave is. So anyways, back to Sedona. I'll promise these aren't all Sedona. We're just getting those out of the way early. Number 13 on the list is Soldier's Pass to the Secret Caves, which you're like out of a Hardy Boys movie or novel. I don't know if they ever made a movie. They should. I hope they do. And if they do, I'm going to Google it. Really cool. What's also great about Soldier's Pass is that along the way, you see the 7 sacred pools. Pretty underwhelming, but if you take a right photo, it looks really cool. When you just look at them, they're not really pools. They're like little 7 sacred puddles, they should be called. 7 sacred puddles. I like that. I'm going to start telling people to do that. And then there's the large sinkhole, which I don't know, some like the biggest sinkhole in Sedona or Arizona. I forget the exact words, but regardless. 12. We're staying just outside of Phoenix. I think it's in the Phoenix DMA, but it's about 45 minutes from downtown and just past Mesa. An incredible hike. One of my favorites. Obviously, it's on this list. Flatiron via Siphon Draw. What's amazing about this is it's in the Superstition Mountains, and which have their own unique history behind them. And you just go through so many different ecosystems. First, you start in the desert. Then you're kind of on this rocky area that's like you're on Mars, which is kind of cool. It's like this area of exposed rock. I've never been to Mars, so don't like say it's Mars and I get in trouble because I've never been there. So remember that. I don't know what to call it. I just called it Mars. People are assholes. I'm gonna get yelled at. It's not Mars. You haven't even seen pictures. I hate people. This is why I hike and don't talk to people. Just kidding. All I ever do is talk to people. And then you're in a rainforest. So you go from like desert, Mars, not Mars, to this like rainforest. And it's very cool. It's like this kind of little jungly feel. And then before you know it, you're overlooking the entire city, and like the views of Flatiron from Flatiron are so cool. It's a very hard hike. It's 6.5 miles round trip with a gain of 2,900 feet. So it's like a 4 to 5 hour thing. Pack a lunch, have a little picnic up top, maybe some wine, beer. Just don't drink too much because you have to go back down. Also be aware of the temperature. It's not really dog friendly because there's a lot of like kind of hard spots to get at. So don't just think it's some easy stroll, because it's not. Number 11, we go just north of Payson to Waterwheel Falls. Waterwheel Falls, very well known as well. So pretty. Make sure you go when it's not brown water, like a spring runoff, because the water is absolutely gorgeous, like this turquoise blue. You wouldn't think you're in the United States. It's incredible. And there's so many different places you can go off and see little waterfalls, and take your time. There's a tree stump you can jump off of into the pools. It's really pretty. So don't just get there and come back. Go off to the right. Like as you go along, you'll see there's like little places you can go off. There's a Y at the end, or a fork in the road, some might say. You can go right up to Waterwheel Falls, or go left, and then up the left there's some more cool stuff up there, and some falls and sights to see, and just meander around. It's really cool. So do that. And like I said, if you want directions on how to get there, all that stuff, inspiretraveleat.com. Google search Waterwheel Falls in my site, give you all the directions, info you need to know. Love it there. I love the whole Payson area. Horton Creek is another cool spot up there. It's pretty hard. You can find all the directions on that. That didn't make the list, but that could be a honorable mention, as well as Tonto State Park. That's it's not, you can kind of hike down. It's kind of cool. This is really cool, actually. So that's an honorable mention. Payson's one of my favorite areas in Arizona. It's got so much stuff. Let's see, including number 4 on this list is just north of Payson. So, and number 3. No, number 2 and number 4 on this list are in Payson. So we'll get there. Number 10 is on the way to Flagstaff, next to Sedona. It's about 30 minutes from the heart of Sedona. And it's, just off the highway is Wet Beaver Creek, also known as the Crack. Now, do this. You need to know this. Hike along the creek. Do not do the trail, because the trail is very boring. Only if you're able, because you walk along a lot of rocks through the water. But if you walk along the trail all the way to the Crack, it's just an exposed, boring hike. It isn't pretty. Like there's nothing Sedona Rocky to see. It's just walking through kind of the desert, and then you get to the Crack, and it's fun. Typically filled with a bunch of people drinking, cliff jumping, music blaring. So if that's not your thing, don't go, or try to go during the weekday or in the summer. But even during the summer, locals and whoever else will be there, just hanging out, having a good time. So be responsible. I don't know if that's what I mean. Be respectful of other people there. So don't be blaring music with cursing and getting overly intoxicated, because kids are there. So please be mindful of them. But back to the secret. So as you park, you'll walk, I don't know, a quarter mile, I want to say, or half a mile. And to the right, you can start, there's an empty kind of area, and you can see the creeks just in the distance, like 100 meters, a football field, something like that. Not even. Walk down to that creek, and then follow that creek for as long as you can. It is so cool. It's such an adventure. You walk through the water. There's lots of crayfish, also known as crawfish, in the water, so keep an eye out for them. There's a bunch of little swimming holes along the way, so you can stop and take a dip. The water's gorgeous the entire way. There's so many different little views. You may get hit by some spider webs on the way, and it does get a little tricky in some parts with the crossings, but that's just part of the adventure. So if you want an adventure, I love that so much. I will never walk the trail. I always go this way. It takes way longer, but who's in any rush? Make it a full day trip. And it's such a fun adventure. So do that. I love it there. And if you do that one tip. Number 9, Seven Falls Trail in Tempe, in Tucson. Incredible. It's 7 miles, I want to say. You can take a shuttle to get to the very start of the trail as well. Yeah, 6.5 miles, I think, without the shuttle, if you just go from the parking lot. And full guide on the site. It's a great hike for dogs, families. It's really flat the whole way for the most part. It's just long, but really cool once you're there. You also cross the water a bunch of times, so that's kind of fun, and some springs. It's a great spot. You'll see maybe some snakes or some rabbits or wildlife, because it is along that water trail the whole way. Although I'm sure not many of those anymore because it's quite trafficked and animals avoid traffic. So, really cool. There is 7 falls at the end. You can take a dip at the end. And it's just if you like a trail run, oh my God, when I could run and my knee wasn't messed up, that was like my favorite trail run because it's pretty cool when you're in there and then it's green, you're crossing the water nonstop. I just love it. Check that out. Back to Sedona, West Fork Trail is amazing, especially if you can go in the fall when the leaves are changing color. It is one of the prettiest fall hikes ever. Again, it's easy for all families, kids. You do have to cross the water, but there's rocks that kind of help you do that. Don't go when it's raining. I've gone there twice now, maybe 3 times where it's been like full crazy flooded. It's been outrageous. I guess twice where it's been actually really bad. Like you can't cross the water. There's been that much water. So be careful of that. It's also, the parking lot's very small. You can park up on the road, up along further up. But yeah, during peak season, it's tough to get there because that parking lot fills up. So go early or go late, or go during the weekday. Sedona just very overrun. I love Sedona, but it's a lot of people, which, I mean, that happens at Los Angeles. Anywhere beautiful gets a lot of visitors. So Sedona people, stop hating on being a tourist city. Like, sorry, your grandpa there, you moved there 20 years ago. Like, people are going to visit it. Don't be assholes to tourists. Also, I'm sure your property value has really enjoyed all this and you're not complaining about that. So unless you want to exchange all that, but I digress. Staying in Sedona, my favorite trail in Sedona, number 7, Bear Mountain Trail. It is a hard hike. My parents did it. They're 60. They're like good in shape, and they did it. So it's totally doable by most people. You can stop a bunch. It's got an incredible view over and over throughout the hike. So check it out. It's got 360 views of the entire region and just stunning sights all throughout the hike. I absolutely love it. It's 4.5 miles round trip with a 2,000-foot elevation change. But it's worth it because, yeah, it's got the best views in Sedona. Pack a lunch if you need, lots of water. It's really cool, though. Love that. Number 6, Cibecue Falls. You have to get a permit in advance. It is southeast of Phoenix, and I'm trying to remember what the name of the little town is on the way. But just Google Cibecue Falls, and it's a gorgeous falls. You're not allowed to swim in them anymore, I don't believe. So don't do that. But cool. You cross the water a ton of times, 7 times, so it keeps you kind of nice and cold. When you do these water hikes, I just wear trail shoes and just get them wet. Like, just walk through. It's pointless to wear hiking shoes and take them off, take them on. It's just a pain. Don't do that. Trail runners, walk through the water. I know often won't wear socks with them, or like really quick dry socks, and just do that. It's a perfect length of 4 miles round trip. It's not too hard. There's a little bit of scrambling involved. Tough for dogs because there's some places where you literally are like going straight up and over some stuff. Big dogs can easily do it, but I wouldn't suggest it with dogs. You do have to buy permits in advance. Check out the site for all that kind of info. Again, inspiredtravellead.com. So yeah, beautiful. It's really pretty the whole way. And then also there's Apache Falls, which is under a bridge and around the corner. So it's like a little secondary extra cool spot to see on the way back from Cibecue Falls. So check that out. It's on the site as well for exact directions to find it. So it's kind of get a little 2 for 1. Nowhere near as stunning as Cibecue Falls, but it's just something fun to do while you're in that area. Number 5, which could be number 2. It probably is number 2, come to think of it, if I ever change these rankings around. But it's West Clear Creek Wilderness, and it's a hike to the Hanging Springs in Pulo Grande, which I named both of those because according to the internet, I discovered them because no one else has written about them. Not the Hanging Falls. There's another in the same region. There's another Hanging Falls or something like that. I forget what it's called. and it's in the West Clear Creek Wilderness. This has its own place where you have to kind of, again, go to the site, check, search in my site, West Clear Creek Wilderness, West Clear Creek Wilderness, and you can find everywhere how to get there. So cool. There is just beautiful water the whole way. It's the most undiscovered hike in Arizona. One of them that's like the most beautiful. So that's nice. It's not super overcrowded. I'm sure some of you will say, well, don't tell people about it. Like enough people have told me on social media. But again, I want people to see stuff. I want people to see beauty because we're not here forever. Pack in what you pack out, but so gorgeous. It's like Havasupai Falls without the falls. And there's some springs and some big, large bodies of water. So really pretty. You have to go down. It's pretty hard when you scale down the start. It's almost doing Camelback. Not really, like maybe 75% of Camelback. So it can be hard. You can camp at the bottom as well. There's lots of rudimentary camping places. So if you want to backpack down there with a full camping gear, you can, but it is hard. I would say it's like 75% Camelback to go down. And then from there, it's just flat, but you do lots of water crossings. It's relatively easy though. And just check out the site, the pictures on my site. It's incredible. Number 4, Humphreys Peak in Flagstaff. It is, West Clear Creek is kind of by Payson, north of Payson, about 45 minutes. There's also a winery right next to it. So afterwards, stop at the winery. And then there's a bar in, like a brewery in Strawberry area on the way back. So you stay in Payson, stop by there. It's a really cool spot that I love. Back to Humphreys Peak in Flagstaff. Be very careful of this one. I felt like I was going to die 8 times in my life now, and this was one of them. I went October 22nd or 23rd, and a storm. It was just cold, so you want to go check the weather, check when it's okay to go. I was the only one to summit it that day, and it's 10.5 miles of hiking, but it's more the elements. Like the hike is still tough, but the elements are brutal. It's got 3 false peaks. So we got to what we thought was the top. We had already lost one. That was with Jackie. Jackie was the second to last one, and the winds, like freezing cold. And then all of a sudden we thought we're at the top, and nope. And he's like, I'm going down. I'm like, all right, well, I have to do this because I write about hikes for a living, and my friends will never let me live this down if I don't actually get to the top. So I get to what I think is the top, another false summit. And by now, like winds, I've never been part of wind, just one time in my life in Edmonton, Alberta. I've been part of winds this brutal, even worse than Chicago. It was awful and like so cold. I wasn't well equipped. I had a hoodie and a shirt and sweatpants and shorts. I needed much more than that. It was freezing cold. The winds were whipping. It was scary as heck. And then I went the wrong way once, and I'm like, oh my! Like there's some shaly area where I could have easily switched my ankle or done a broken ankle, and I was just done. No one was finding me. It was really dumb. I shouldn't have done that. And that isn't even the part where I thought I was going to die. That was like 50% of what. So I get all the way to the top and go to the site. You can see pictures of Humphreys Peak. There's like ice on everything. Just, it was outrageous. And there's also hail and lightning storms often. So you really want to be careful when you go, check the weather reports, all that kind of stuff. Overpack, take this hike very seriously. And it's funny because we started, and at the start, there's like this nice meadow, and it was just beautiful, like these fall colored trees, and it was just paradise, kind of flat-ish. And you go from the Shire, and then it's fucking Mordor. Like, it is hell. It literally was Mordor. And then I lost Frodo. He took off. It was not good. It was not good at all. So, be prepared for this. And then, so as we're going up, there's like the trees are creaking and swaying in the light wind on the way up in the meadow in the Shire. Then I go up to Mordor. Almost feel like I'm going to die. My favorite hat flew off. Like it was gone into the distance forever. And then I start going down and the sun's going down. And I'm like, shit, this is not good. And no one's on the mountain at this point, aside from me. And then it's pitch black. And I've got like my phone light. Again, not well prepared. I'm an idiot. I was also really hungover. It was my birthday weekend, and a bunch of friends, we went to Payson. Sorry, we went to Flagstaff. And so I'm super hungover on top of all this. Maybe a granola bar on me. Stupid. And sunset, beautiful sunset. I have pictures of the sunset on the website. And then it's pitch black. And I'm tripping on every root, every rock. It's bad. And I'm trying to get through there fast because it's also, there's like animals everywhere in the area. Speaking of, I walk pitch black, and out of nowhere, I hear there's just not an actual explosion, but like explosion of some giant animal breaking trees and like rocks. Like I startled it, and it either took off towards me or away from me. At that moment, I had no idea which one. Obviously, it didn't attack me, and it went the other way. I have no idea what it was. I hope it was a deer. But now I think I've got a bear or a cougar chasing me, or some animal, or I don't know, something scary. I was in Mordor. It could have been a troll. I'm terrified. Now I'm like, oh my God, something could be stalking me, following me. And I've still got like 45 minutes of pitch black, falling, twist an ankle any moment, can't see. And those beautiful trees that were swaying on the way, now the creaking sounds like crying babies. And just like screeching and scary and absolutely terrified. Well, I also don't know what animal is around me. And obviously I'm thinking it's a deer, but I don't know this. So that was miserable. Hated my life. Maybe I'll have a podcast of the times I thought I was going to die. My mom will love that one. Number 3, we go to the Grand Canyon, which this is the dumbest thing. And when I say it out loud, and I've said it out loud every time, it really is. It's bigger than you think it is. And it actually is grand. Like it's crazy. I'm glad I went. And I talked to so many people in Phoenix who always say, I've never been to the Grand Canyon. And, but then you actually go and you're like, Jesus, that's enormous and so pretty. It's one of the few places, there's a lot of places, but it's one of the top places of like a picture doesn't do it justice. I've got kind of nice pictures of it, but it's not even close to resembling how stunning and magnificent it is. I think it might be magnificent in the dictionary should show the Grand Canyon. The best hike there for all bodies that can hike, of course, going to like rim to rim would be incredible, and seeing the falls down there and camping down there. Always wanted to do that. It's very hard to get permits to do it, but if you can do that, great. If you are just a regular civilian, you can hike South Kaibab Trail, which is the best trail because there's a few like Angels something or other. But this one's the best because it's just the most open, and you can have so many views along the way. And there's also the zigzag, I forget what it's called, cross. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Cross. Just some really beautiful photo ops along the way of the trail, crisscrossing back and forth. Uah Point and Bright Angel Trail is the other trail, but this one's the best one out of them, because Bright Angel Trail is more in the canyon, where Kaibab has more spectacular views. Switchbacks. It has a bunch of cool switchbacks, which are really pretty in photographs if you want to take some pictures along the way. And it's also nice you can make it as short or as long as you want, because you can go to Uah Point, which I think is 1.8 miles, or you can go all the way down to the bottom, which is 12.6 miles. So remember that you are going downhill. and you have to go back uphill. So be very, very careful that you're like, oh, this is easy. And before you know it, you've got 6 miles you need to hike back uphill. That's not fun. Number 2, which most people know what number 1 is. Number 2, I love so much, but I may put West Clear Creek right next to it or more. This is such a tough one. Bob Bear Trail, formerly known as Fossil Springs. Do not get this confused with Fossil Creek. Fossil Creek is like a 30-minute walk, which is pretty along the stream a little bit, and then you get to some falls that's just overcrowded with people, although there is a permit system now, so it's kind of cut that down. But it's not much of a hike. It is cool. It's pretty. The drive there takes forever because like the last stretch takes an hour because it's such a awful road the whole way, so you have to drive very slow even if you have an SUV. So that's Fossil Creek. Bob Bear Trail, which used to be known as Fossil Springs, is stunning. Again, a very mini version of Havasupai Falls, which by now you know is probably number 1. There is a grotto to swim through. There's the pretty waterfall. There was the toilet bowl, which you used to be able to jump and swim under, and now you're not allowed to. It is terrifying. I had to save someone because you jump. You can go on the site and see the video of it. It's this swirling water coming in like hard from the waterfall, very, very loud as it's roaring. And it's literally like a giant toilet bowl. And you jump in and there's a cave area to get out of that's probably like this big, which if you're just listening to this, I would say probably about 4 feet wide, 4x4 circle. And then you're also getting like pulled multiple different ways because you have to be an extremely strong swimmer. I've done it 3 times or 4 times. I would never do it again. I don't know why I did it again the other times. I think I took a GoPro through to show. Terrifying because also I got like sucked to the roof once, so I had like pushed myself off and like swim out. Like I said, I had to come save this one dude who got sucked against the roof. I dove in. This random stranger who saw me do it and thought anyone could do it. He didn't know what kind of superhuman swimming skills I have. Just kidding. Yeah. And then there's a cave. So just past the waterfalls, there's a cave that you swim into, which is so pretty and cool. The water's gorgeous. There's also some springs along the way. So before you get to the waterfalls, you cut through and go to the springs and hang out there, check those out. It's just so beautiful. And it finally reopened because it was a fire burned it all down 4 years ago. And it just reopened last spring, I think. The spring of 2023 or maybe the winter of 2022. You do have to get a permit in advance for most of the year. For some parts of the year, you don't. So just check that out. And yeah. And on to number 1. The worst kept secret of this podcast, Havasupai Falls. I always say it is the greatest place on earth. I will argue anyone to death. I have, not to death, but I have debated hotly. People have been around the world. I'm like, there's no place you can be cut off from civilization. Phones don't work. Crazy, pushing yourself exercise. A friend I went with cried at the end, like she made it to the top. It's excruciatingly hard because you're carrying a 50-pound backpack and 30 to 50-pound backpack, depending who you are. And over the 3 to 4 days you go, you hike 50 miles, especially if you go to the confluence, which you have to do on one of the days. So literally like a 50 miles hiking, hard hikes. The Mooney Falls is better than Havasu Falls. Havasu Falls is the one everyone knows. Mooney Falls is cooler. It's bigger. When you walk up to it, the entire view is like the Jurassic Park theme song starts going. I can't put into words how beautiful it is. It is absolutely amazing. You can apply to get permits on February 1st, I think at 8 a.m. Arizona time each year. Very hard to get. But yeah. Then there's Beaver Falls, which is another set. You can walk along the water for a lot of it, which I'll do, versus walk on the path because it's just so pretty to do that. And then yeah, the confluence is where the Colorado River and the Havasupai Waters meet. So it's this brown Colorado River and then the gorgeous turquoise of Havasupai Falls water meets. And yeah, and I've gone there 5 times now, and I think each time you stay 3 or 4 nights, and there's always something new to discover. It has to be number one on your bucket list in the world. I am sure there are other great places, but I think just it's a perfect combination of length, cut off from civilization, camping, back to nature, beauty, and just effort level. It's truly got everything. It is unmatched. So that's it. Those are the 15 best hikes in Arizona. Some of the best in the country and one of the best, if not the best, in the world. So you have to go check out the site, inspiretravelbeat.com, for like full details on each one, how to get passes or when to go, or all the questions you might have. This is the best travel podcast in the universe, possibly, arguably, debatably. Debatably? Is that a word? I'm Fraser Laveay. Thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, I'm sure you didn't. Ta-ta for now.